All right, welcome to the factoring benchmark review. We're going to go through each type of problem that we've done so far. So the first type is factoring out the GCF. If you remember, that's the type that we have a box around it. We say what divides 4 and 2? The answer is 2. And when I look at the letters, I take the smaller of the two. So I get D2. And then to get what's left over, I divide. So 4 divided 2 is 2. 2 divided 2 is 1. And I don't have any D's left on the first one because I took them all away. But on the second one, 4 take away 2 leaves me with 2 left over. And that is my final answer. So go ahead and pause the video and try the second one. Alright, if you tried it, you should have said what divides 6 and 9, and you should have gotten 3. I can take away 2 A's because for the letters, remember, I take the smaller of the two. And then I divide. 6 divided 3 is 2. I had 2, I took 2 away, so I'm not left with any A's. The second one I had 5 and I took 2 away, so I'm left with 2 A's. And 9 divided 3 is 3. So that is my final answer. The second type we did was factoring with A equal to 1. You can tell it's this type if you look at the first number and or the first thing and it doesn't have a number in front. And it also needs to have 3 terms. So 8 goes on top because it's the last number. 6 goes on the bottom because it's the middle number, because we want to multiply to 8 and add to 6. So I'm going to think of some factors for 8. They are 1 and 8 and 2 and 4. I'm looking for the ones that add to 6. So 2 plus 4 is 6. So those are my factors, and this is the one where I can just write my answer. To get D squared, I need to start with a D and D, and then I take my factors of plus 2 and plus 4, and that is my final answer. Right, now we get to sum with some negatives. So remember, we know it's this because it doesn't have a number in front and it's 3 terms. The last term goes on top, trying to multiply to that. The middle term goes on the bottom. We're trying to add to that, and don't forget the negative sign, so it's a negative 18 and a negative 7. So I have 1 and 18, 2 and 9, 3 and 8. So I'm going to think, okay, 1 and 18 is never going to add to 7. 2 plus 9 isn't, but 2 minus 9 is. So 2 and 9 are my factors. That should say 3 and 6, excuse me. All right, 2 minus 9 is what's going to add to a negative 7. The bigger number needs to be negative if you want to add to a negative. And you can always check that on a calculator. And remember, I need x and x, and then I just plug my factors in, plus 2 and minus 9. So go ahead and pause the video and try this one. All right, it should have had negative 10 on top, positive 9 on the bottom. Your factors for 10 are 10 and 1 or 2 and 5, but we have 10 and 1 because we want to add to 9. Excuse me. I need the 1 to be negative because I want my overall answer to be positive. So the bigger number needs to be positive. So my final answer is B plus 10 and B minus 1. Go ahead and try this one on your own. It's our last one of this type. So 16 on top. Negative 10 on the bottom. Factors for 16 are 1 and 16, 4 and 4, 2 and 8. 2 and 8 add to positive 10. Since we want to add to a negative and multiply to a positive, I need both of them to be negative. So my final answer is A minus 2, A minus 8. And now we move on to our last type. And we're only going to do 2 of these, so I'm going to do the first one. You're going to do the second one. So I'm going to start with this one. Alright, so the first step for this one is to multiply the first and the last term, and you get negative 24, and the middle number still goes on the bottom. Just like before, you're trying to multiply the top and add to the bottom, so factors of 24 are 1 and 24, 2 and 12, 3 and 8, or 4 and 6. And I want to add to 2, so my factors are going to be 4 and 6. The 4 has to be negative because I want to add to a positive. Now you can't jump to your answer on this one. You got to do a little more work. So we're going to keep the first term, keep the last term. In the middle term, we're going to, instead of writing 2, we're going to split it into the factors of negative 4x and positive 6x. So we're just taking the factors we got from our diamond and we're plugging them into the middle. And then we do our grouping, which is parentheses. And then this is just like the first problem we did. We ask ourselves 3 and 4 both divide by 1. x2 and x, I can take an x out. 3 divide 3 is 3. 2 take away 1x is 1. 4 divide 1 is 4. And I don't have any x's left because I took it away. The second grouping, 6 and 8, both divide by 2. I can't take an x because the last term doesn't have an x. And I can look at this parenthesis and say, oh, it must match. So I'm going to copy it. Once my parentheses match, my final answer is 3x minus 4. And then the leftovers go in the second parenthesis of 1x plus 2. So go ahead and pause the video and try this one on your own. Right, if you did that, you should be doing first times last gives me 6. I'm trying to multiply to that. The middle term goes on the bottom, which is 7. So my factors for 6 are 2 and 3, or 1 and 6. 1 plus 6 is 7. I keep the first and the last. I split the middle up into 6 and 1. Don't forget to put an x with it though. I group. 2 and 6 both divide by 2. 2 divide 2 is 1. 6 divide 2 is 3. 1 and 3 both divide by 1. I can copy the parenthesis, and then now I'm just off to writing my answer. I copy the parenthesis that's the same, and the leftovers go in the other parenthesis. And that should be your final answer. So go ahead and start working on the factoring quizzes for extra practice. If you need to refer back to the video, please do. Otherwise, have a wonderful day.